Hi, I'm Roxy. Today I'm going to be looking at Moonbreaker. It's a game on Steam that simulates traditional tabletop gaming, where you move figures around the board. But it's not the game itself that I'm interested in, despite the fact that it's based on a world developed by Brandon Sanderson, who happens to be one of my favorite authors of all time. It's just that I'm not into turn-based combat, it's not my thing. But it does have another aspect of the game where you get to custom paint your miniatures, just like a lot of people do when they play these types of tabletop games in real life. So as an artist, I've always enjoyed the art of games more than the game itself. I even collected Magic the Gathering cards purely for the artwork, never intending to play. So I thought this would be cool to try, because the last time I painted a miniature was back in design school in the late 90s. We had to sculpt a unique character from dice clay and paint it. If mine hadn't broken in an unfortunate incident, I could have showed you. It was pretty funny. It was an alien with 3 boobs. But back to Moonbreaker. I've got early access to the playtest version of it. I believe the public release date is 30 September. So just keep in mind that this is still in beta or beta, depending on where you are in the world. So things might change a little, but when you open it up, you get to this screen where you can either play the game or you can paint minis here by collect and paint. And by default, there's background music. I have a very low tolerance for music that I didn't select to play. So you can go into options and turn it right down if you like me. And while you're in there, head on over to graphics and be sure to set quality to ultra so everything's nice and crisp. And to get out of the screen, you just click anywhere and anywhere again. So collect and paint. So here we've got all the models that we can paint. And roster seems to be a flag. So just going to grab this guy. Now this is a skin that I painted earlier just to test. This is the default scheme. And so to create a new scheme, you click the plus button. Now you've got a blank canvas basically. So moving around the model is all in the mouse. So to rotate, you click and hold right mouse button and move it like this. To zoom in and out, you use the scroll wheel of your mouse. And to pan, it's scroll click. So you click your middle mouse button, hold, and then you can move it around. Now, if you're using one of those Macs that only have one mouse button, you can click here, like you can click this and it'll be in rotate mode. You can just use your left mouse button. If you click here, then moving up and down with your mouse will zoom in and out. But for the rest of us, if you forget, just hover over and you'll see what the default is. You can also change that in options. Go to options, input, and scroll down to painting, and you can set your own hotkeys if you prefer. To actually paint the model, you choose one of these paint methods from up here. I'll go through that properly in a sec. To change the size of your brush, you can either use the slider here, or you can use bracket keys, the square bracket key. That's pretty standard for most painting programs, so most people will be familiar with that. And to change the opacity of the paint, you'll use this slider here. Top obviously being fully opaque and bottom being basically transparent. You can also hold down Control and use the square bracket keys to change the opacity. Now you can paint with your mouse. Here I've got my mouse and painting away, that's all fine, but you can also use a pen tablet. I have a Huion Inspiro 1060p that I'm using, and I didn't have to do anything to get it to work. I just grabbed my pen, which I'll do now. I just grabbed my pen and started painting. Unfortunately, the game doesn't seem to come it doesn't seem to support pressure sensitivity. Like usually in a painting program, the default is for a brush to be more opaque when you press harder and more transparent when you press lighter. It doesn't seem like there's a way to link my pen pressure to this slider, but it is early access, so maybe they'll include that functionality in a later build. I hope so. It would be kind of a shame not to. So then you also have your undo and your redo, also Control Z and Control Y if you prefer hotkeys. And this icon here hides the UI, which is user interface, so you can take a nice screenshot. You can also just press tab. And I don't know if this game is coming out in other platforms, but if you're in Steam, the way to take a screenshot easily is just press F12. So your paint palette is here. You can scroll down this list for more colors. And then there's also a mixer pad here. Let me just clear this. And I'll show you how it works. So you basically want to have your opacity at about 50%. And let's say we want to make like an orange color. We'll grab some red. And then we'll grab some yellow. And the color in between there, let's actually set this a bit lower. Let's make it 20%. So, okay, I see it. It also kind of, if you go over that, it starts to smudge it, so you can get that orange. But let's say you're starting out there. Paint the red, grab some yellow, and there you've got this in-between color. To select that color, you can obviously head on all the way over here to color picker, which will grab the color picker, and then you can pick it like that. But to save time, just press Alt. I actually have Alt mapped to my tablet stylus. This is the software that comes with Huion. So this button here on my tablet is Alt plus mouse click, left mouse. So what that does is when I click the button on my stylus, it presses Alt and clicks with the mouse. So it's a quick way to select colors. You can see this little swatch here that's showing what is currently selected. So if I alt click, alt click, alt click, so it's real fast to select colors, and especially nice when you're trying to blend stuff. So you have these different painting methods here. So paint is like your base coat. So let's say we're going to grab gray and pump up the opacity and the brush size actually, and just paint all over this thing. And be sure to swivel it around and get those little edges. Make sure everything is painted. It seems like when you paint a front face of something, it also paints the back face, which is why when I was painting here, it was also painting behind. Now it's got this kind of easy mode, which is pretty convenient. Let's say you wanted to paint this knee pad here. Now you could grab a color, make the brush really small, and be careful to swivel it around, be careful to not go over the lines and that kind of thing. Or you can just hold down Shift and then click and paint, and then it'll be constrained to whatever parts of the model are assigned to the same kind of armor or whatever it is. So in this case, it's the kneecap, the boot, the strap on the leg, and some stuff on the chest. You see it's ignoring like the sash over here, ignoring everything over here, there. It's only painting certain parts of the model. So you just make your brush a bit bigger so this doesn't take forever, and quickly get a coat down on a specific area of the model that you want to work with. And then, you know, you'll obviously grab a different color for something else, like let's say these string things, these ribbons. Always hold shift down first, and then make sure your cursor is on that area, and don't lift your mouse or your stylus, otherwise it's going to select a different area. Just keep holding it down while you're painting, and so you can get a quick base coat down like that. So the wash, what this is it paints mainly in the recesses of the armor, so in these little grooves and things. You can also use shift click to constrain it to one area, or you can paint over everything. So you see it's kind of just filling in the recesses. Now you might think that's a bit dark, and it probably is. So you can also remember you have this opacity, so set it real low, and that might be more what you want. And now wash. So that was wash. So dry brush is the opposite, actually. It focuses on the raised parts of the armor. So I've selected white there, and if I go over this, you see it's mainly painting the white bits. Oh, sorry, the raised bits. Then airbrush is it's kind of useful for blending. Like, let's say you want to make a gradation. You can set the opacity low, brush quite big, and you know, you kind of make half of the character white, going into like a grey. So you don't have to obviously do the whole character. You can make kind of half of the boot red and going into green. I know this is looking Bollywood at the moment, just for demonstration purposes. And then the last thing we've got is stipple. Stipple is like a splatter. So you set your brush smallish, and for example, you can make splatter. Okay, let's just up that opacity a little bit. Oh, I see. I changed the wrong thing. This is the brush size. Let me just Control Z. So now we've got a smallish brush, and it's quite opaque. So if I zoom in there, you can see it's making splatters. Now, if I make the brush even smaller, the splatters will be even smaller. It's more like little freckles. So you could simulate rust on armor, or, you know, make out like your hero's got blood splashed up on his boot from walking in the blood of his enemies. It's quite macabre, but, you know, however you want to play this. Oh, and decal I don't have access to. It says no decals unlocked, so I'm guessing when you play the game you probably unlock stickers or something that you can apply to the guy. And so if you're happy with what you've created, you press this left arrow and it says, would you like to save? I definitely don't, so I'm going to click discard. And here we're back to the one that I made previously. You can see I used some speckles on the bottom, stipples they call it, on the bottoms of his robe, like as if it's mud splashed up there, and also on the armor, so it's almost like rust. And you can also obviously go in and free paint, like I kind of painted on some eyeballs. So that's basically it. That's all the functionality so far. I thought it was quite fun, and I think if they add the ability to map the pressure to a stylus, it will be perfect for what it is. So in a moment I'll end the video by showing the full-length footage of me painting this. should you be interested in that, keep watching. Otherwise, I just want to say thank you for watching. Much obliged if you leave a like and subscribe. Until the next one, God bless.